Who should win the inaugural TNT? That's the explosion sound effect I'm going to do every time I say it. The TNT title in AEW. I'm Ollie Davis. I'm joined by Luke Owen remotely from the studio.
Apartment.
Please get in your super chats and go over to what is it? What's the link thing called?
So it is. Oh, I haven't got it up on screen. 1 second. I will put it up on screen so people can see it.
The link's going to appear on the screen. If you super chat in on YouTube take 30% of it. So the Streamlabs one, Ren Omega,
not that one,
is gives a bit more back to us, which is much appreciated. But first, let's talk about this announcement that was made on Monday in AEW's Road to Dynamite YouTube series. And they said, we're going to debut a new mid-card championship. It's going to be called the TNT Championship based off the network they're on. You know, because usually this mid-card title will be called the TV title. Here it's called the name of the network. I think that's inspired. What a great way to babyface yourself to the people who pay the bills ultimately, as opposed to what WWE do, where they try and, you know, sign on the dotted line with Fox or Sky or whoever, and then actively try and piss them off for the next 4 years until the deal's up, and then they go on a year of baby facing. It's such a carny trick. So I really like that idea. What I'm not so sure about is the timing. So this is it's an 8-person tournament going to run over the next 6 weeks or so. The finals are going to conclude at May's Double or Nothing. I don't believe Double or Nothing will go ahead based on how everything else is going on in the world. So, is it a good idea to debut a title, a much-needed mid-card title in AEW, who have a fantastic mid-card roster, and this gives them something to fight over? Do you want to debut this title with no fans?
It's weird as well that the TNT title that is named after the network will be won on a pay-per-view that's not airing on that network. You know, there's also that. But I think that I agree with you that it's not perhaps the smartest idea to be like, you know, launching a mid-card title at this point in time where there's so much uncertainty, particularly if you are sort of building towards this pay-per-view that may or may not happen, which, you know, takes place in May. However, in their defense, I would say you don't want AEW to do now is cancel Double or Nothing. Like, you know, just say, we're canceling Double or Nothing, we're refunding all the tickets, only to then find out that everything's fine and you can do Double or Nothing now, because then you've got to try and rebook everything and then people are going to buy their tickets all over again. So I do have some sympathy for them to just sort of plow along as if Double or Nothing is going to take place. When it comes down to it, though, that they announce there's no way Double or Nothing can take place, that is when you have to address the situation and refund people and cancel the show. But for now, acting as though it is going to still take place, I do think is the right move. I kind of think at the moment, because it may be fine. We don't know. It probably won't, but you know, we just don't know at the moment.
I don't know. I can't sit here and criticize WWE for continuing to say that stuff is going to happen when, you know, it either blatantly isn't, like with the Roman Reigns situation, or is highly doubtful given everything that's going on, and then say AEW are cool to go ahead and promote Double or Nothing. I do understand this situation is far less severe, but it is in the same ballpark. And you've already done it with War Games. I don't see the point of just saying we will crown the champion in the future. And it's not so much that it's the Double or Nothing crowning that's the problem. It's, do you want to debut this mid-card title in a tournament when there's no one around to make it that special? I'm now leaning towards, yes, it was a good idea, just because it's going to give you something to hang the next 6 weeks of TV off of. And I loved last night's episode. I thought it was very, very good.
Yeah, and the difference I would say in between AEW acting like Double or Nothing is still taking place and WWE promoting Roman versus Goldberg is that WWE know for a fact that Goldberg versus Roman Reigns is not happening. Like, they have already, you know, Roman Reigns himself has said, I'm not doing it. Triple H has said, I'm not doing it. They know for a fact it's not happening, but are still pretending like it is and are telling people to buy a pay-per-view to see a match that is never going to take place. Double or Nothing might just happen in an empty arena, but it might do. But then, for all we know, next week it would be the whole of the United States could go into lockdown, and no one will be allowed to film any wrestling. And that is when you're in a situation where you're like, well, you're promoted a show for next week that you don't know you can do, unless, of course, they have already taped all of it. Like, so it's such a bizarre situation. But I do very much agree with you on the sense that announcing it now does feel like a good kind of a good thing to do, because you're right, it does sort of fill up, but it's like 6 weeks of TV time, and maybe that's the right thing to do, is just sort of like continue as on as normal and try not to sort of really focus on the fact that these shows are dead weird.
Yeah, it worked with Matt Hardy and Brodie Lee, and I do kind of respect AEW for just pushing ahead with a lot of their big planned angles, in spite of everything. I think that's a very nice commitment, an admirable commitment to long-term booking and your plans. But stuff like War Games, I think was quite obvious you should never have promoted.
Agreed.
When it there was no way that could take place. But let's get back to the TNT tournament and who should become the inaugural champion, because we now know the full brackets. We had the first half announced on Dark, which was Cody versus Sean Spears, and
Sammy Guevara
versus Sammy Guevara.
Yes.
There on one side, and on the other side, announced at the start of Dynamite was it's Gold Dust, Dustin Rhodes versus
Kip Sabian,
and then you've got Colt Cabana versus Lance Archer.
Now, to be hypercritical of this and to throw some scorn onto this tournament before it's even begun, with the rankings, I cannot see how Lance Archer is in a tournament to win a title when he only had his debut match on this episode. Like, there are other people in AEW's ranking system that have got a better win-loss record than he has in singles competition. Why has he been sort of, jumped into this competition? Colt Cabana makes sense. He's got a 2-0 record currently. So it makes sense for him to be part of this tournament. But Lance Archer, I don't think you could make the argument that it does make sense, other than the fact it's likely going to come down to Cody versus Lance.
Yeah, you're right there. I didn't think of that. And all you needed is for Jake to say in his promo, hey, you're probably wondering why Lance is in there. That's a condition of the signing bonus.
Yeah.
The only reason Lance is here is because AEW agreed to put him in this match. And that's how we're going to get to you, Cody. We wanted to be in this match because we will see you in the final. Really easy fix. You're totally right.
I tell you what, I'm going to keep an ear out for that, because I bet you Jake will cut that exact promo next week now, because they definitely watch this show.
And that was always the plan. Vanguard 1 actually projected the wrong Jake the Snake promo. Yes. So I really, really like these brackets. I know if you look at it, and my initial reaction was, well, it's going to go to Cody versus Lance Archer. I think I would say that's the safest bet. However, you've also got in there a Cody versus Dustin Rhodes possibility for the finals, which would take place a year after their excellent 5-star match at Double or Nothing.
Yeah, agreed. And then sort of delays the Lance Archer match. Like if he gets himself DQ'd and gets thrown out of the tournament, so he doesn't actually lose us. He doesn't lose anything from that. And then 1 year on, you do Dusty versus Cody too. That'd be incredible. I didn't even think of that.
I think Lance is going to take out Cody, and Cody's going to take out Lance. I don't think either man will be in the final. Their match will be a blood feud match.
So you think it could go through to Sean versus Darby in the semi-finals, which actually then does play off this episode, because Sean pinned Darby, on this episode of Dynamite.
Yeah, so the main event of this show was a really, really nice story, perfectly booked to sort of set up the tournament, and that was the baby faces of the first half of the bracket, Cody and Darby Allin, taking on Sammy Guevara and Sean Spears. And when Cody gets into the ring, Darby's already there. He's sitting in the corner, being all emo-like. And Cody goes to shake his hand, but Darby just, doesn't want anything to do with him. But as soon as the bell rings, the synergy.
Yeah.
An unspoken tag team chemistry where they know where each other is. And it's like, yes, that's Darby's character.
Yeah, I thought it was so. I thought it was a great match. Really, right. This episode was bookended by two great matches.
And that storyline progressed throughout the match, which saw some really insane spots, like Darby doing a coffin drop off of this pillar.
What was that all about?
Oh, I loved that. And there was some terrific heel work as well, where Sean Spears and Sammy Guevara kept betting on who could hold up Darby in a suplex the longest, actually throwing physical cash into the ring.
I loved how disgusted Tony Schiavone was at this. He was aghast that these two men were betting during an actual wrestling match. His babyface reaction to that was it was incredible.
Yeah, loved it. And then at the end, the heels were doing enough to beat themselves because they were just being so arrogant all the time. The aforementioned betting bit. Sammy tried to vlog with Brandy, but the finish came when Sean Spears is going to use the chair. He's the chairman on Cody. Darby gets in, could have won the match, but he didn't. He saved Cody, and that meant Sean could roll him up and get the win. Darby lost to a roll-up. Brilliant finish. An even better follow-up angle because Darby's he's just really pissed with himself. Because I guess in his character, he does not let people in. No. And he let someone in, Cody, to help him, and that directly led to him picking up a defeat. And out of frustration, not even with Cody. I think that's frustration with himself. He just hit Cody as Cody tried to raise his hand at the end. Brilliant.
I thought it was an excellent match. Really, really fantastically done. The finish was so good. And I loved the post-match as well. And it really actually got me excited for those next week tournament brackets. I've actually just seen someone in the chat. I can't quite remember who it was that said it. I do apologize. But they said that the finals could end up being, if AEW go down the route that they have done previously, which is not going with what you expect, taking the Young Bucks out of the tournament early doors and having finals between the two teams you didn't expect the finals to be between, then what's to say that, this doesn't come down to Kip versus Sammy or, Darby versus Kip?
I think it was Tomo who said
Tomo. Oh, yeah. So, it comes down to Darby versus Kip Sabian. And then you've got oh, wow, they really are strapping a rocket to someone who has just been sort of in the mid card of this company for a while, and they're going to do something with it as opposed to putting it on established name like Cody or someone like the Murder Hawk. You're going in a completely different direction. There's a lot of possibilities here.
Yeah, I mean, before the brackets were announced, I thought, Chris Jericho would be a great champion. Cody, you want someone, a huge name to immediately solidify that belt. Hangman Page, I thought would be perfect. That sort of guy. But then when they announced the 8 guys involved, I love all of them, but they weren't the 8 I was expecting. And I like that more. I do think if I was to pick one, I don't think Cody and Lance are going to make it to the finals. They're going to cancel each other out through interference. I think Darby. I think Darby's the guy who should become the inaugural champion.
Yeah, and in which case, if you did, I was going to say, if you did Darby versus Kip Sabian, then that is dickhead heel Kip Sabian with Penelope Ford on the outside and Darby Allin overcoming those odds. I was just saying it would be really good. You can't, if you say you can't, you could do, of doing Darby versus Lance Archer. Because Lance Archer with his Marco Stunt squash was showing what he can do with the smaller guys. If you're showing what he does, building up to this of what he could do to Darby Allin, and then it is Darby overcoming the monster, overcoming Murder Hawk to become the first TNT champion. That's a great story.
I love that. That's a really good shout. I wouldn't mind Goldust in there either. I wouldn't mind Darby versus Dustin, and you can have Cody in Dustin's corner based off the sort of punch finish to the end of this episode.
I love that. And that's all built on the history between Darby and Cody, which, is nearly a year on from this point, from their match at Fyter Fest, that they've continued on through Dynamite into this very episode. So then Darby going up against the older brother, the veteran in Dustin, with Cody in his corner, coaching Dustin on here's what I've learned from facing Darby Allin. That's also a really interesting story. There's a lot of very cool possibilities in this tournament.
This is a sign of a very well thought out and booked tournament, in that there are so many ways it can go. And I'm into pretty much every single combination. That's a lot of different possibilities, and that's symptomatic of a very well booked promotion in general. That you have all this context to lean on, you have these pre-existing character feuds and relationships and histories. So really, really flawless stuff, I think, from AEW. And yeah, you know what? I've convinced myself. Screw it. There might not be any fans, but this is a great hook for the next 6 weeks of TV. So
and I think sometimes it's needed.
Yeah, this is my internal thought process has been sort of working its way through the last few days since the announcement. We'll talk about Lance Archer on the other side of the super chats because he is in contendership for the TNT Championship. But before we get to the super chats, all 751 of you watching right now, I don't think the Americans have realized that the clock's changed over here yet. So there's a slightly different time for this.
Yes.
But as you might have seen on the WrestleTalk news that went up earlier, we are going to be running Indie Mania this Saturday and Sunday over WrestleMania weekend. And what that is WrestleMania weekend traditionally has not just WWE's big shows, but just 10 scores and scores of smaller indie promotions putting on what is typically their biggest shows of the year as well, in that same area, in that same city. But those shows have all been cancelled. WWE's big enough. It's got $500,000 in cash, reportedly. They're going to be able to survive whatever this world-ending apocalypse event brings. But the indie companies need your help. And to support them, because, you know, indie wrestling is the foundation of everything we love in the major promotions, we're going to put on this Indie Mania 2-day event, which is 2 3-hour live streams. We're going to live stream from our channel, not sort of live matches, but it's the best matches that these promotions have sent to us with talent like Kenny Omega, like the Young Bucks, like Walter, like Pete Dunne, that Shibata, Zack Sabre Jr. They're all going to be on the cards from old matches, and people can super chat in, people can donate if they go to our GoFundMe support wrestling site. There's also a Indie Mania t-shirt that we're going to put out. All the proceeds from that will be split equally amongst all the promotions who have provided footage.
The incredible feedback that we got for No Fans Monday and the incredible response from you people who are watching the show has led to this sort of thing. Your support for independent wrestling, your support for these wrestlers during this trying time is absolutely admirable, and we wanted to thank you all for everything that you guys have done for this channel and for the wrestlers during this period of time. So yeah, it's going to be a stacked old 2 shows as well. Like, some incredible matches are being shown there, including maybe some hidden gems that you've heard of in the past, but you've not actually seen before. So we're going to be premiering those on the channel over the weekend. So yeah, it's going to be a big old weekend of wrestling, along with our 2 live streams of WrestleMania as well.
Ooh, should we get on with some super chats?
Indeed.
Right, so Colorstopia, all I want is Brodie asking a minion to do a southern accent. Jericho is a gift that we don't deserve. Cody versus Archer for the TNT title.
I'm hoping that he means Archer from the movie Small Soldiers.
The Gorgonites. Jog on. The soldiers were the cool guys. Christian Baltimore. First TNT champion should have been Penta.
Well, I mean, when you're right, you're right. It should have been Penta. But
seriously, maybe not Penta, but if I'm Pac, I am pissed off.
Yeah.
In kayfabe.
Kayfabe, yeah.
The bad one, Ryan be bad. Murder Hawk just did a murder. I do think Cody should beat Archer in the finals for the title. Otherwise, Cody is going to start feeling like Braun. Can never win the big match.
But that could be turned into quite easily into a storyline character-wise. The problem with Braun is that it's never become a character trait for him. He's just always lost. And I think he's going to lose again this weekend.
Tomo with an absolutely enormous super chat. Thank you so much, Tomo. It's so obvious that the finals will be Sammy versus Kip, the match everyone wants to see. I wouldn't say it's obvious, but I'm with you. I think that will be the final.
Sammy Guevara versus Kip Sabian, 2 heels.
Oh, wait a second. You're right. I meant Darby. Darby versus Kip. Matthew Robinson, Darby versus Lance, and have Darby win the first TNT title.
I really like that. I know I said it earlier, but I really like it.
Matthew Robinson again. I think Trent should have been in the tournament.
Hey, man, what a great match you have with Kenny Omega.
And his record really does lend itself to that. And Matthew Robinson again. Is there anyone you would replace in the tournament?
Yeah, and it sucks to say, but Colt Cabana. Because
nah, man.
And I mean, and I love Colt and everything, but Colt doesn't feel like he should be part of this tournament. You know what I mean?
But he's a wrestler too.
I mean, yeah, you're right. He is a wrestler too. He did remind us that a lot on this show.
I do totally get what you're saying, and yeah, I understand that. I love Colt so much. Honestly, I just few people make me enjoy wrestling the way he does. So although you're totally right in terms of just pre-existing stuff in AEW, or I know you can make the argument against Lance Archer for that, but yeah, if there was anyone I would replace, it's more like I want to put people in. I want this to be a 16-man tournament. I want Brodie Lee to be in it.
Yes. No, I completely agree with you. We've got a couple of Stream Labs donations as well, which you can do over at Support WrestleTalk, WrestleTalk.com/support. We have had, and this actually came in for a couple of days ago from our Raw review. Dr. Doom said, "Keep up the amazing work during these troubling time, boys." And Giant 420 Ginger said, "Do you think since there will be no crowds, WWE will hold off on the Drew Shayna Edge victories until the crowd is present?"
Drew, Shayna. I think you can give Shayna the belt. She's not going to get a huge reaction. I don't think you should hold off on Drew. But yeah, you're right. The big Drew win should be in front of a crowd.
And lastly, Jobber JJ, Ollie Davis's #1 fan, donated to say, "Thank you for the quiz last night. I had a lot of fun. Whoever super chatted about Titus kissing his son, that was so funny. Loved AEW, especially the comedy. Britt and her shoe, the gambling, and Jericho feud with a drone. Kent v Trent, best empty arena match, in my opinion."
Yeah, well, we loved Gwizzlemania too. The aim is to do it next week as well. We're not committing to it weekly yet, but it will also happen on Wednesday. Adam's working on a part 2.
Yes.
So thank you very much for everyone who joined us. It was a lot of fun there.
Oh my god, I laughed so much.
Yeah,
so much. I was crying with laughter at Andy during the tag match. So good.
So yes, this episode of AEW Dynamite began with Cody and Tony standing 2 meters apart. I'm getting used to this because I'm watching a lot of daytime TV, and everyone has a force field around them.
BBC Breakfast, like they got that big old couch, and they had that big old couch set up for guests. Now it's just so the hosts can sit quite far away from each other.
Cody had Pharaoh with him, the Rhodes family dog. And I'm okay with this because there's no pyro and there's no fans to scare the hell out of it. So well done. It's in a different location. This wasn't at Daly's place, which is where they've done the last 2 weeks of no fan shows. Apparently that's because the car park of that place was turned into a Steve Corino testing area. Yeah. Wow. The Khan family owned that venue. So this one isn't, we don't know where this is being filmed. It's obviously a different place because it looks like an aircraft hangar from the inside. But the reason the venue location hasn't come out is to stop fans from turning up.
Really? Oh, wow. So like fans have been showing up to Daly's place.
I presume so, yeah, to get signatures, to see the wrestlers. So it's meant for safety. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. From an undisclosed location. Maybe they're hailing from parts unknown.
Tony and Cody laid out the brackets, the other half of the brackets that we've already covered, and then Kenny Omega kicked off the show with an excellent match against Trent.
God, this was so good. This was just 2 wrestlers going out there and doing the exact same match they would have done with 15,000 people in attendance. It's the same match they would have done with 500 people in attendance. It's the same match they would have done with no people in attendance. They just went out there and absolutely killed it. Oh man, it was so great.
So good. So like artist-wise, it's like they just went out there with a canvas to paint on, regardless of the fans in attendance or not in attendance, as it were. And I've got to be honest, 5 minutes in, I did not once think about there being no fans there.
Nope.
That this went just over 19 minutes because
there was 1 minute
20-minute time limit. 20-minute time limit, and Kenny just won with the one-winged angel in the last minute. A fantastic story.
I thought they were going to go to a draw. I really thought that, like, when they started counting down from like 15 through to 19, with 1 minute remaining, I thought it's got to be a draw. They've got to be running to a draw here.
That's the genius of it. They're going to tease out the idea of going to a draw, and then when the draw does happen, you're like, oh, they actually did a draw. It's really, it's great long-term booking when you don't overdo the finishes like that.
Yeah, no, I really, really enjoyed this. I've seen some people criticize them for having the wrestlers around ringside again, because it's not really social distancing. I was wondering what your take on this was.
Yeah, I mean, I was surprised that they had people out there just because last week they didn't do that. Yeah. And I just assumed they didn't do that last week because you're not allowed to anymore. So it is a bit peculiar that people were now at ringside. They were all far apart. It was like Jimmy Havoc's here, move along 3 meters. There's Kip Sabian, and then there's Penelope Ford. They're not even touching. And I'm pretty sure they at least live together, or because they're going out in real life. So yeah, I don't know, but it's not actually different to having them all in a room backstage being filmed, which is what they had last week.
Yeah, it was less invasive than it was last week in terms of being a TV viewer. I'm going to err on the side of caution and presume that they are being safe about this, and these sort of precautions are being put in place for the health and safety of everyone around ringside. I'm going to err on that side of caution. But if it came out that there was no such, cases like that, then it'd be like, it's quite irresponsible.
Well, it's difficult because the reports are both WWE and AEW. Everyone's getting their temperatures taken before they're allowed to set foot in the building. There's the standard. If you show any symptoms, you're not allowed anywhere near this place. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of people are asymptomatic and that they don't show any symptoms, but they're still contagious for a 7-day period potentially. So you wouldn't know. And I've been critical of WWE for doing this with WrestleMania. I think it's not worth the risk.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I don't know. Yeah, I guess I am critical of it. But it does make a better TV program. Yeah, just having just having 5 people at ringside raised this half a star each match.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree.
That we also there's a lot of focus on the Gunn Club at ringside. That's Billy Gunn and Austin Gunn.
I'm guessing that's because they're there. Like, I'm sure if there was if the Lucha Brothers were available, then they'd probably be in that position. But, Billy Gunn and Austin Gunn are available and they're there. So they get to get this spot, I guess.
Yeah, it's a weird one. Just that the amount they're being focused on makes me feel like they will have a angle and start a feud with someone.
It's probably on Dark.
After that match, and a genuinely extraordinary match, I do agree with, I think it was Jobber JJ who said it's the best match of the No Fans era so far.
Yeah, totally. I agree.
Not counting David Starr versus Callum Newman, obviously.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Sorry about that.
You're right, yeah.
Then Shida took on a newcomer in Anna Jay. This was really good for an enhancement match.
Yeah, and a really cool video package for Hikaru Shida afterwards, putting her over as the number 1 contender to Nyla Rose. I thought this was really, really smart. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, I felt Anna Jay got over despite just being there to get beaten.
Yeah.
Very, very well done. Then we got the Mox.
There was a spot in there that I really did like, which was when Shida essentially was offering up some free shots from Anna Jay. And Anna hit her quite hard on one of them, and it seemed to really piss off Shida. So she just walloped her right in the face and let her go down. But, Anna Jay got to kick out of a couple of big moves and got some near falls herself and escaped a triangle before Shida hit the Falcon Arrow for the win. I thought it was really good.
Sheeta's my favorite. I think she's excellent.
Mm.
Then we got Mox versus Hager in a video package, which was part recap, part new stuff, the sort of sit down interviews with not just Hager and Moxley, but also Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. I know you're down on the whole Jake Hager, John Moxley first feud after the title win. I love it.
It is. I mean, they are. Yeah. I mean, I was critical of it because I just didn't feel like it felt like a pay-per-view quality main event. But as a TV feud, yeah, actually, it's pretty. It's a really, really cool thing. And I thought this video package was excellent in really putting over Hager as this unstoppable beast. He laid out Moxley on Dark, and you got Moxley doing this. Saying in this, putting over how strong and how dangerous Hager is. And I particularly like Chris Jericho, sort of like giving some reasoning as to why he's almost allowing this to happen, and he's not upset that he's not going after the title. Whereas, like, yeah, I can have my rematch with John Moxley, but I'm letting Jake do it now. I'm going to let Jake have his shot because when he wins, there will be two champions in a circle. We're already the greatest group as it is. Then we'll have two champions in the group. I thought that was really, really cool.
I described this in my review, this feud, as, when you have big, epic comic book story arcs, ones that go 12 issues, that's a whole year of comics. You don't then just jump straight into the next big comic book arc. Yeah. You have about 2 issues of a mini 2-part story. And then that sets the ground for the next big one. That's what this feud is. I think it's good. Hager said he's got ruthless aggression as well. I was like, you weren't part of that era.
Wasn't he? What are we saying was the ruthless aggression era? Like 2002 to
07? And then you got the PG era, right?
Yeah. I think Swagger might have made that cut.
Swagger's like 08, really, in my head.
Maybe. I can't remember.
He was only in the company for a year before WrestleMania 26.
Was he really?
Or am I thinking about Sheamus? I get it. Next up, we had there was a lot of good stuff on this show, like really good stuff. This was my favorite.
So,
you go.
I was going to say, a couple of weeks ago, we had that conversation that Dave Meltzer posed of just like, are we into Jake? Are we into Jake in this feud as opposed to being into Lance? And I said, I'm more into Lance now, particularly after that, like when he was beating up those dudes in the woods. So I was going to ask the question, are you now into Lance?
Yes. I freaking love him. Oh my God. The guy is enormous. Like, he's a different species to Marco Stunt. Yeah. He is from the land of the Amazonians. So Jake, yes, still a great promo. And that's his role. Mm-hmm. But in terms of the other half of the package, the in-ring stuff, dear God, that his look, the way he moves, when Lance Archer comes down to the ring, he just took out a random guy.
It wasn't just a random guy. It was a doctor. They put it over on commentary, like he attacked the doctor at ringside, who then, and it almost was like, I'm going to attack the doctor so he can't go in and help Marco after the match, which I thought was really cool. With like a nice little touch on there. And what an absolutely perfect matchup for Lance Archer's first, his debut match in AEW. It was like, yeah, let's put him up against literally the smallest guy on the roster in Marco Stunt, 4'0" standing on a box. And Lance killed this poor dude, just threw him pillar to post. When he pounced him out of the ring, it was so great. It was amazing. His like blackout finisher is brutal looking.
Yeah, right. It's like a last ride one-winged angel. It's insane. And his choke slam, I've never seen someone go up so high. Move aside, Baron Corbin. We've got a new choke slam king in town. Just, he feels like nothing I've seen for a while. And that's weird to say because he also feels like a very simplistic throwback. And I mean that in a very positive way. He is just an awesome monster heel.
It's really taken me back to 2004, 2005, when I was really getting into TNA and it was becoming my favorite thing. And Lance Hoyt was one of my guys. I absolutely loved Lance Hoyt. I was like, oh man, he's so cool. He's a future TNA champion. it's now very nice to see 15 years later, I'm seeing him on AEW just being this cool murder hawk character with Jake Roberts as his manager, just absolutely murderizing this poor Marco stunt fella.
Yeah, I just love his look as well. The red dreads. He does look like a sort of alien. He looks like he's come from a war planet. In fact, I hope that's now his backstory. I said in my review, he feels like a Superman villain. That's how impressive he looks.
He's from Planet Hulk.
Yeah. Because originally I wrote down, oh, he's my new favorite Batman villain. And I thought, no, wait a second. He's a Superman villain.
Yeah, right.
Speaking of comic book stuff, we then got a Brodie Lee skit. What would you call it? A sort of scene?
Yeah, I mean, skit's good. Yeah, I call it a promo, but it's not quite a promo, is it? But he was in a boardroom in his sort of like suit again, his very Mr. McMahon suit that people were pointing out that we missed last week. It's the pants don't match the jacket, which apparently is it's very much a Vince McMahon trait. And there was actually I forgot to say about that. Apparently, Dave Meltzer did say that there has been stories of Vince going into restaurants and saying that people can't eat before he's finished. Apparently it's a quite a famous story, so that's definitely a play on that then. And there was more of that this week, was him make sure there is a difference between Brodie Lee and the Mr. Brodie Lee character, in the same way there's a difference between Vince McMahon and the Mr. McMahon character. And then there was another minion that yawned, and Brodie chewed him out as well. Smashed a glass against a wall in such frustration. I'm actually really enjoying this Brodie Lee character.
Yeah, I agree. And then that was followed up by the Natural Nightmares of QT Marshall and Dustin Rhodes in their Dynamite debut, taking on the Dark Order minion team of, I'm pretty sure it was Silver and...
They didn't say it wasn't Silver and Reynolds. They said they were 8 and 9. They were just unnamed minions.
Yeah, and they lost. They wrestled pretty well, though. They're just sort of generic minion outfits. And Brodie came out afterwards, sort of stared down Dustin. And I thought, oh, yes, please. I want that later.
Yeah.
And Brodie walks past them, though, and gets in the ring and hits this huge powerbomb on one of the minions, stares the other one down and walks off. Really good stuff. I really like the Brodie Lee character. However, I can't help but feel like this is at the expense of the Dark Order that we've actually come to like since September, and Evil Uno and Stu Grayson. Where have they?
I know, yeah, they do feel like the forgotten parts of this now, because they've not been part of the video packages, since Brodie Lee debuted. Like, they haven't stood side by side together in 2 weeks now.
Yeah, I like Brodie Lee. Oh, I think he's really good, great performer. I love the idea of this sort of cultish Vince McMahon parody figure. In a serious way, not a comedic way. But it's not the Dark Order, is it?
No. And which is why we said, like, early doors, we weren't sure if Brodie Lee was going to be the right fit to be leader of this group. And it's just, it's almost feels like another false start for this act. The third attempt to get this group going, and Brodie Lee has just completely overshadowed them. And maybe that's for the best. He does feel like the star of the group.
Yeah, but I thought, Stu Grayson's fantastic.
Yeah.
After that, we got Chris Jericho drinking a little bit of the bubbler. Haven't heard that for a while. In his hot tub, in his he described his house as something. I can't remember what it was.
But he did call the Elite a bunch of April Fools, which is funny. And then starts running down all of the members before Vanguard 1 approaches. And Jericho tries to apologize to Vanguard for the things that he said last week. And he offered him a tiny Inner Circle t-shirt that he hung on to Vanguard 1. Vanguard 1 then flies away. And Jericho says, and I quote, "Release the hounds." And this tiny army of dogs run out, trying to be very playful, as Jericho runs after this drone flying away. And at the end of it, just goes, "Little bastard stole my t-shirt."
But in what was quite obviously a completely overdubbed line. That wasn't done in the moment. That was put on later. And just what put me over the edge for that is then it cuts back to the arena place and Colt's on commentary now, and he just says, "But he gave him the t-shirt." It really tickled me. So I'm struggling with this because I loved it. Am I allowed to love it and not actually see any problem with it, but also not like last week's segment?
Well, I mean, a few people tweeted us and tagged us being like, guys, you were wrong. He didn't teleport around the ring. It was Vanguard doing projections, which I really do think is a case of rewriting history. And then being like, no, it wasn't. It didn't teleport, even though they quite all said during the promo that he was teleporting. And that is one of the, yes, I didn't like last week's segments. And this was doofy comedy. And it did make me laugh. It was certainly funnier than last week's segment was. And maybe that's why I enjoyed it more, because I didn't laugh during last week's segment, but I did laugh a lot during this one.
Yeah, I think the strength of the Broken Matt Hardy character is in these sorts of edited vignettes. And even if you put him in a ring in front of no fans, it's a bit more hokey. I mean, it's totally hokey anyway, but for whatever reason, it's easier to accept when he is packaged in those hyper broken stylized ways. But yeah, I thought I really, really liked this segment.
See, what I really liked was this promo for Nick Jackson returning. And they sort of put over the fact that he was injured. He actually did say in this that he doesn't know who attacked him. He didn't see who attacked him, which could possibly set up the storyline that it wasn't the Inner Circle. They just found him that way, which, Jericho did say, we just found him like that. But they have also taken credit for it as well. But mystery attacker, ? But it was Nick saying, I don't know who it was, but I'm now trying to get back ready in the ring. And it's him and Matt working together. And they just got this sort of like wrestling ring that's in this weird setting. It was a really cool sort of like on the hill of this sort of like, they're from California, right?
Yeah, it looked like a basketball court.
Yeah, right. And like, so they did some training there. And as they were walking away, Matt was like, so you ready? And Nick's like, no, I'm not ready yet. Which I thought was really nice. I thought it was a really, really nice continuation of Nick Jackson's return to the ring.
And interestingly, this was 100% serious. This was like real being the elite as opposed to meta funny being the elite. And it somehow played perfectly alongside the hyper goofy comedy of Jericho and Vanguard 1, which is essentially promoting the same match. I agree. I really like this. And you know what? I think this is the best thing that could happen for Blood and Guts, because I can't believe AEW were going to do a War Games match between the Inner Circle and the Elite, with Broken Matt Hardy being one of the Elite members, with 2 weeks build.
Yeah. And announced on social media.
Sort of first revealed at Revolution, 2 weeks of actual participant build. Yeah. That's what they were going to do, and they were going to do it on TV. Prolong this build. It now feels really, really big with this Nick Jackson stuff.
Yeah, it feels more big time than it did a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, but overall, I thought this was an absolutely extraordinary episode of AEW. Much better than last week.
Much better.
4 out of 5 for me.
Yeah, I'm in complete agreement with you. I really, really enjoyed this week's show.
And it just goes to show like where WWE have really nailed the promos recently, the promo work on all the guys, that you can do that and have great in-ring wrestling too.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Let's do the rest of the super chats then.
Should we do some Patreon shout-outs first?
Oh, yes, those. I haven't got those.
I've got them here, don't you worry. Have you got them in Discord, or do you want me to just do them and I'll just read them?
I've got them in Discord.
Okay, right. Well, I'll let you do the first one then.
Oh no, you could have let me. All right, here we go.
I tell you what. Do you want me to riff for a bit?
I've got the first one.
Okay.
Laughsman, Crate.
The Craftsman Blake Carpenter. Thank you very much. And to you, the Kessel Run DX Solo.
Yeah,
what a nice guy.
Damn, Ronak Patel.
Damn indeed. The $100 Man, CD Horvath.
Are you out there? We keep making you videos, you don't watch them. The Rocket, damn Van Sky. What a voice.
What a voice indeed. He's going to do a collaboration with Chopper P. Quinnell.
Yes.
Float Like a Butterfly, Samad Ali.
Thank you very much.
What a guy.
WrestleTalk's personal ring announcer, Rodrigo Benitez.
Nice. Lovely stuff. No one names their kid this anymore. Larry.
Whoa, cheers, Larry. Kratos' forgotten son, Chris Petru.
Oh, he's not forgotten. Luke's favorite fan, the one, the only, the awesome Bubba.
Whoa, cheers, Bubba. the Beast, Brock Taylor.
Oh, he's beastly. He's beastly. And lastly, don't have a Shane Cowley, man.
Thank you very much. And also thank you to Hawkeye Jeremy Runner, the best, Dowd, and Tomo, and also the mod mother Jenna for manning the super chats. You wonderful Modichlorian people.
Modichlorians? Did you just come up with that?
No, the mods came up with that.
Oh, it's
good, isn't it?
It is good. We've turned one of the worst things Star Wars has ever done outside of Rise of Skywalker and turned it into something good.
So let's get to the rest of these super chats. Oh my God, the sun has just blown up.
It's gone again.
See the background? God.
I did, yeah.
So Pavi let Andy out of his cage. They could do Lance because Cody to lose, and on the final Darby versus Lance, Cody attacks Lance and Darby attacks both of them, making it a triple threat.
That's convoluting things.
Yeah, you can't. I think AEW is smart enough to advertise a singles match as the finals and keep it that way.
Mm-hmm.
Nathan Faust, Spears' 2020 record is 1-6, and he's in the tourney.
There you go. That's what I mean about the Lance thing. It's like sometimes you put these guys in there, but their records don't reflect that.
Axe Adapter, I want to see Darby versus Cody with Darby winning. So yeah, that could happen if they get to the semis.
Oh yeah, it should happen in the semis, yeah, but we can't see it as a final.
Matthew Shiel, Pac, MJF, and Jungle Boy should be in the tourney. Yeah, take out Colt Cabana, Lance Archer, and Dustin. Have Lance cost Cody, then have Darby versus MJF in the final.
The one thing we haven't pointed out as well is that this could just be, who's at hand. Who can we get to put into this tournament? And with MJF in particular, you could make the argument if he's not going to win, do you want to put him in the tournament? And have him get that loss when you could ride more momentum with him beating Cody off of Revolution.
Yeah, totally. I really thought they would do a sort of Cody MJF thing around the TNT title, though.
Yeah, I completely agree. On to general AEW related. Spencer O says, if Jericho was serious about catching Vanguard 1, he'd have released the robotic Richard Simmons.
This is lost on me.
It's lost on me as well. Cool. Phoenix, hey guys, I don't know if you remember, but a while back I said there would be a Marco versus Archer match, and Ollie said, why? Now you know why.
Oh, have we got an insider in the house?
Nate dropped surname. I think he just meant more now you know why, because it's a lot of fun. Nate dropped surname. Do you think the Hounds had bees in their mouths? Jericho's the best. I was dying laughing. It's a very good Simpsons reference there. Colostopia, Sammy and Darby are, for me, The Rock and Austin of AEW.
Wow. That's a big comparison. I like them, but I wouldn't say they're that good just yet.
Matthew Robinson, OMG, Marco stunt chokeslam to the outside. Thought they should do that when I was watching the match, but never really thought they would do something like that. It was a really cool spot. Yeah. Matthew Robinson again, gotta love Brodie channeling Vince. Everything he's doing is spot on and great. Stay safe, guys. And Matt Robinson again, I love Darby showing the emotion in the ring, shoving Cody. It's continued character work. I love it when all the babyfaces push for titles.
Yeah, really, really good. Complicated, interweaving storylines.
A Random Hero 13 says they're filming Dynamite in a football field. You can see the grass. I think there was certainly some AstroTurf there. I don't know if it was like, it almost seemed too small to be in a football field. They're massive, aren't they?
Maybe it's a Jacksonville Jaguars training facility where they've got some mocked up grass to run around on and run drills.
Or maybe it's one of those, because like did TNT have their own sports like broadcast? Like ESPN when was it on Fox rather? WWE did that 24/7 title change with some of the Fox people, and they were sort of standing on like a fake baseball diamond thing. I don't know if TNT's got something similar.
Potentially.
Nate dropped surname. First time for Hager to speak, right?
No, Hager's spoken a few times now. The first one was when he did that really funny promo with Chris Jericho, where Jericho wouldn't say his sorry. Yeah. So he just passed the microphone to Hager each time.
Pavi let Andy out of his cage. Do you think AEW have made offers to Ric Flair to join? Since Cody has Anderson and Spears has Tully, MJF could partner with Rick for fun segments.
That would be great. But yeah, MJF, Rick they should be kept apart. MJF should be his own thing.
I was going to say, like, the last time we did something like that was we put AJ Styles with Ric Flair and it completely bombed. Pavila and we just done that one. Sorry. Nate dropped surname. JR and Taz had possible shoot comments on the live stream about sleep being weakness, not being allowed to sleep on flight, blasting Kid Rock.
Yeah, they did a post show on YouTube, JR, Taz, and Excalibur afterwards. I haven't watched it, but wow.
I think that might be in reference, to Vince not allowing people to sleep on planes. Pro Wrestling Reviews. How are things with lockdown in the UK? Does Janela have a chance to come back to the spotlight? Do you think that Darby Allin will make the tournament finals?
Yeah, Joey Janela's kind of sort of evaporated, really. I don't know if that's a self-quarantining thing. Cody did say Janela's got a terrible social media game on this very episode. And yeah, he has been a bit outspoken against AEW. So maybe that's also something to do with it.
And Alyssa Hudgens has said they are filming at QT's school in Georgia.
That's interesting. Yeah, apparently QT and the Rhodes family are very, very close. So maybe hook that up.
Well, I was going to say, on that note, on our Streamlabs donations, Mayor of Painesville said Dustin is going to win the tournament. He hates the Nightmare Tag Team with QT Marshall.
Oh, I like QT.
Yeah, I quite like him.
Oh.
But
yes, Dan wanted to be a single star.
I think he wants to be world champion. Sorry, I interrupted you.
Was that all the ones from Streamlabs?
No, we've got a couple of others, but if you go into your WrestleTalk ones, I'll do the other ones.
William Buhner, a little money to show appreciation for your great videos on both channels. Thanks you all for making these days a little brighter. Hashtag isolation boys.
Thanks, mate.
Much. Harry Iverson. Hey lads, it's the Geordie bus driver. Enjoying my first day off. Hope you all are keeping well and most importantly, sane.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, Harry. Thank you for your messages we've had this week, and a happy bloody birthday to you.
Happy birthday. Pavi let Andy out of his cage. I ordered a Screw Steve Corino shirt on No Fans Monday. Yesterday, I got an email. It's shipping. Hopefully, Steve Corino is finished before it gets here. Yes, well, as I'm sure everyone can understand, the worldwide supply chains have been a bit affected. Yeah. And in terms of essential work, maybe shipping wrestling shirts wasn't high up the national and international infrastructure of shipping. So yes, we're trying to push those orders out as soon as we can. I hope you understand. There isn't much we can do, but they are getting out there. And the Grizzly Gentleman, Adam's fantasy booking idea, how Roman Reigns gets over.
He was over at one point.
Stay tuned to Parts Unknown, Grizzly, because that might be coming your way sooner than you think.
And Matt Rudd has said, hey guys, long time listener, first time super chat. Did you guys notice how Hikaru really grabbed her opponent's lady parts when lifting up for a finisher move and then when trying to pin her? I'm not a weirdo. It looked like a whole handful. Hi from Australia.
Wow. No, I didn't notice that.
No.
I might have to rewatch.
All right, Randy.
Was that all the ones from Streamlabs?
That was all of them.
Well, that's all we've got time for today, folks. Thank you very much for tuning in. Go and watch our WrestleMania 36 predictions if you haven't already. Laurie spent a lot of time editing that absolute hot mess of remote recording, so we'd really appreciate it. And also go and check out Quizzlemania that we all did yesterday and the WrestleTalk news that went up earlier today too. But for now, I've been Ollie Davis. This has been Luke Owen. Please click the videos that have just appeared on the screen to catch up with the latest awesome WrestleTalk things, and make sure to tune in on Saturday and Sunday here on WrestleTalk for Indie Mania. See you then.
Right, I'm going to end this broadcast. I'm ending it now, Ollie.